Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Okay, it is Q&A Tuesday. All right, a few questions only for this session of Q&A Tuesday. It's totally fine. I think with the long holiday weekend, it didn't get a lot of questions, but it's okay because I have a few things I want to dive into with these questions. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is, how soon would you be expected to give a provider class when you start a new job? It depends on the setting. It depends on what is going on. The factors that go into this are when they're asking you to do a provider class, it is because the providers are really in need of some hands-on training. And if your supervisor sees that potential in you, you should just seize it with both hands. And I know it may be like a little intimidating to give a class right away, but think about this. You've passed your certification exam, you have gone through the school, you know what you're doing. All you have to do is just pass it along. That's all you have to do. And yes, it does get intimidating when you are in front of a group of providers. Does it happen to me still? Yes. It occasionally happens to me even today, okay? It depends on who I'm in front of. If I know these providers, I'm fine. If I have met somebody new, it depends on their energy. I am very much an energies person. If the people around me are not, if I can sense that they are not receptive, it's a little bit harder to break through. And then sometimes if they have that really gruff exterior and just very, like the walls go up, if I haven't had time to get with them, it does make it a little bit difficult when I'm in front of them doing a class. So it does happen even to us veterans. It still happens. The key is to be confident about what you're talking about. Even if you don't have a lot of experience, it's totally fine. All you have to do is just be prepared and just dig in. They want to learn from you. Think of it like that. They want to learn from you, even though they might be resisting you at first. It's okay. They're built that way. Providers are built that way because they are very educated and they have spent years in school. It is difficult for these alpha personalities to take direction sometimes from somebody that does not have as much, typically as much education as they do. There are some coders that have been, that have degrees and they've been to school for a lot of other things. And so it just depends. But don't let that intimidate you. Just go in with a confident attitude, just like you did when you went and passed your certification exam. Okay, so that's my advice on that one. All right, the next one. Will you be retested whenever you start a new clinic? No. And what this question is referring to, thanks Brenda, and thank you Zoe for your question as well. Going back to this question about being retested. So when you first get into your new job, they're going to give you a test, a pre-test to find out how much do you know before they even give you an interview, before they even hire you, okay? They are going to ask you questions and things like that just to test you, to make sure that you know what you're doing. Because sometimes a person may have a certification but really not know a whole lot. And so it's going to make it more difficult for you to get hired if you just passed your certification but you don't really have a strong grasp of medical coding. A lot of times when you start in a new job, they're going to expect you to know how to code from the second you walk in that door. That is 99.999% of the places that you go. They will expect you to already know how to code. And when you are starting, and just say for instance, you get hired at this place, okay? After you've done your pre-test and you've passed your interview and you passed all your background checks and you are working, and they tell you, we're going to put you in pediatrics. We're going to start you off in pediatrics. And you say, okay, and you're bumping along with pediatrics. And then they tell you, we're going to put you in cardiology. And you're like, oh, okay. They're not going to test you again because you've already been in the system. You're already an employee, okay? All you have to do when you start a new clinic or when they reassign you or put you in another place is study that section of the book. Go to websites that are dedicated to that particular topic. I've done this several times. I've talked about this many, many times before. I will try to link some of the other ones, like the helpful websites for medical coders. I'll go ahead and link that up in this video as well. I like a lot of those websites that I talk about on that one video. And it's not a advertising thing, okay? I have I get no money from these guys, and doesn't mean I don't have to, you know. But I'm just saying, I tell you guys about it because it makes life easier for me. So I know for me as a medical coder, it would make life easier for other medical coders. That's the only reason why I share those. And there's so much good information on those websites. So be looking for that one. And I hope you'll watch it. But yeah, that's really all you have to do when you start a new clinic. And sometimes they may do that to you. They may just start you off in one clinic, and then maybe 6 months later, maybe they'll start you in another clinic. And sometimes they do that to cross-train the coders, okay? Everybody should be cross-trained. If you are in a facility, you should be cross-trained. My first boss, who actually hired me at my current facility that I'm in, wonderful lady. I mean, I learned so much from her. She is incredibly smart and one of the smartest coders I know. And she was very much a big advocate of that cross-training. She would always tell us in meetings. And another thing about this lady that made her so amazing, whenever we would have coder meetings with her were not like coder meetings now. And not to say anything about my boss or anything like that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the way she did it was every time we went into a coder meeting, she would tell us, do not sit next to somebody that you know. You're going to sit next to somebody that you don't know. And she made us do that every single time. And I was just like, At first I was really nervous. And then I got to know a lot of the ladies because she made us do that. She made us, you know, trade seats and everything. She would make us do presentations about our clinic to everybody. And so I thought that was another good thing because it got people in the habit of doing public speaking, which I think a lot of times is not really enforced a lot in a lot of places because sometimes it's just one person that does all the education to the providers and sometimes it's nobody. And then if you don't have a supervisor or a lead that's enforcing this, enforcing the coders to go and talk to the providers and get good communication going with them, it sort of falls to the wayside. And then people just sort of get into that complacency of, well, whatever's there, whatever's documented, I'm going to pick it up the way it is. If your provider can improve, if you are in a position to talk to them and help them, partner with them to help them improve, I recommend it. I mean, we all have the power as medical coders to work with our providers. And I just say that so many times it's thrown to the wayside. So many people get intimidated by these providers. And yes, some of these providers are they can be very snappy. They can be very mean. But it's not always like that. And sometimes these providers, they just have a bad day too. And you never know what's going on in somebody else's life, okay? This is why I always say you got to be kind to other people. And I know we talk about kindness. A lot of people talk about kindness in the world. But you really have to be the model of what you want to see in the world. How I treat other people and how I do things with an open heart. I don't expect anything in return. All I want to do is just share what I know. If people are listening to something that I'm sharing and it helps them, that's what I would love. That's what I like. Because so many times I've seen so many coders struggle because there was nobody there to help them. And then they talk about these experiences later on and they say, well, I never had anybody to help me and I just sort of didn't know what to do, so I didn't do anything. And I just think that that's just so sad. You know, that's why I try to make sure that I do these videos and I try to put out good content. I always hope that I give you guys content that is thoughtful because, and not the same thing, not the same rigmarole, because you guys deserve it. If you're taking the time to listen to me, I hope that that's how it's coming across. But yes, that's, you just have to get used to it. You know, you have to get used to talking and communicating, things like that. It does take time, yes. But I think learning from my first boss at my current facility and all the things that she did, and wishing that we still had a lot of that. A lot of the things that she did was really, really good at camaraderie, building camaraderie and teamwork. And that's another thing that's so important that gets lost on a lot of coders, because I talk about coders in the general sense that sometimes they will help you and then sometimes they won't. And then sometimes you get coders that are very competitive. And then you get the passive coders that they're like, okay, I'm just here and I'm collecting a check and, you know. So it's just a variety. And the majority of us are women. I mean, there's women from a lot of different backgrounds. Men are of the minority in medical coding. I wish there was more men in medical coding, because I think it would balance a lot of the estrogen that's in a lot of the facilities. I think a good mix of people, a variety and diversity of people, would make a work environment really good, because then you get lots of different perspectives, lots of different views. I have a very good friend. He's an older gentleman. And whenever I need help, like with presentations or whatever, I ask him. The man has a master's degree. So I've asked him several times. He is like a professor, and to me at least. And whenever I do ask him a question, he'll say, okay, Blue, you said it this way, but try to say it this way and think of it in terms of this. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I ask him because I respect his opinion and I respect the way that he tells me to do things. And when I ask for his advice, he's not telling me, but he is giving me a choice on how to say things. And then he'll say, okay, that sounds better. And so always try to look for those, your colleagues, to help you to improve and get better. And respect what they say and respect their opinion if you know, that is what you are looking for answers or whatever, you know. That's just the way that, like, I always like to come across as well. Whenever I do have colleagues that ask me questions, I always try to explain it and then I point them to how to find the answers. And that is also important as well. What's that saying? Teach a man to fish. Oh no, you feed a man a fish. Okay, you feed a man a fish for a day. You feed him for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's how I think, you know. I said it right one time. I can't. No, I can't even say it right. Oh well, you guys know what I'm trying to say. But yes. So communication is key. Don't be scared of it. Don't be shy about it. I have plenty of videos where I talk about like pointers on how to give classes. I will keep doing those. Eventually I will get a little bit better with a camera. And so that way I can actually kind of show you guys more. But, you know, one thing at a time. So next question. Are provider classes also a helping hand along with one-on-one querying? Yes, it is a supplement. Provider classes are a supplement to querying. Querying happens only when providers forget something or something needs to be clarified or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's missing some information in there that needs to be there. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why you would have to query, okay? And the goal is to keep the amount of queries down to a minimum. You don't want to always have to constantly query your providers, because if you have to constantly query them, it's going to take you longer to get through the documentation. So that's the only thing. And then of course it slows down the revenue process, the revenue cycle. So you don't want to do that. You want to help them to get to a point where the queries is very minimal. In podiatry, my queries literally are bare minimum. They're that good. I mean, they are on the money. And usually if I do have to query them, it's for something really little, like they're missing laterality, but it's there, but it's not where it needs to be. So that's where it's just like, oh, okay, you know, and it's something really very simple. But that's what I like about podiatry, is that they are on point, and that's what's so good. But it wasn't always like that, you know. I had my challenges with them as well, but it took time. You know, you just have to be patient with them as well. So that's also my advice on that one. All right. Then the last question was, will learning medical coding be harder with 2 kids? Okay, if you have children and you want to get into medical coding, you're a stay-at-home parent, or maybe, you know, you just want a new career or something, and you have small children, yes, it's a challenge. But as I said earlier, medical coding is filled with women. I mean, women dominate medical coding. Go to any conference and you could see that. Majority of the vendors, if there's any males, it's usually with the vendors. You know, very small percentage of medical coders are male, but the rest are female. And a lot of them have kids. Some have many children. And did they have those children when they were in school? Of course. It all depends on what your structure at home is like as well. Sometimes children don't understand, or they have a hard time understanding why is mommy or daddy constantly studying? I just want them to play with me. And then you get the older kids that they see mom or dad studying and trying to work hard to get this medical coding thing. And they think, wow, you know, my parent is really doing that. They're going back to school and trying to get a better life or whatever. And, you know, I mean, it just depends on where your kid is. But you have to set aside time for them and set aside time for you. If you want to pursue medical coding, go for it. If you know you have small children, set aside time to be with them. But then in the times that you have time to be with yourself and with schoolwork, you need to concentrate on it, okay? You can do it. I mean, I've seen women do it, and they had a lot of kids. One lady that I went to school with, she had 6 kids. So, yeah, she still did it. She got to the program, you know. So, I mean, it's not impossible if you have children to pursue a career. You know, it's just depending on how you're scheduling your time with your kids and things like that. So, I mean, it's really up to you if you want to do things to further your life and you know, make a better life, really, for your family, you know, because the amount of money that you can make being a medical coder is very good. I'm not going to lie. Don't ask me how much they make. We've had this discussion before. The reason that I don't talk about money is because it's different everywhere. And some people don't like that I say that, but it's the truth. You put in a medical coder salary for New York, it's going to be a heck of a lot different than a medical coder salary for somebody living in Arkansas. Same thing if you live in Michigan and then versus Texas. Completely different. There's a bunch of different factors that go into it, but I know, put the stick down. I know. But anyway, I'm just saying that it's just different everywhere. So that's why I say. But you can look on the Department of Labor to find out what the local starting salary is in your area for a medical coder. And that's how you can find that information out. So, but yes, it's totally up to you. If you want to do it, do it. My only advice would be, don't be ambivalent about it. If you're going to do it, do it. Don't sit there and seesaw back and forth. Should I, should I, should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I? If you're going to do something, do it. And it's a good field to get into. You know, yes, it is hard in the beginning to get a job. I'm not going to lie. It is. Everybody went through it. And I don't know why it is so hard to get a job for the first time as a medical coder. I don't know. If I had my way, I would be hiring, if I had my own practice, I'd be hiring new people left and right. Because new people are the most hungry, typically. Not that veteran coders aren't. They are. I'm just saying. Veteran coders tend to have habits. Some are good. Some are, you know, hard habits to break, you know. So it's just, it depends. But with new medical coders are like a sponge. They just soak up everything. You know, I've worked with and trained many new coders. So I know. But anyway, yeah, that's my video for today. So I will go ahead and wrap this one up. This week I am going to be working on a thing about unlisted procedures. Somebody was asking me about to do a thing about unlisted procedures, and I think this is a really good topic to talk about because you obviously want to try to avoid an unlisted procedure if you absolutely can, but sometimes it's not always avoidable. So I'll be working on that one. Look for that video this week. And also another video that I was going to do is one about the symbols. Somebody was asking me to do another video about the symbols. And I thought that, yeah, that's a good idea for a good topic idea. So if you have any other topics you'd like to see, just comment below. If you like this video, if this video helped you, give it a thumbs up. And I will go ahead and wrap this one up. But if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all on the next video. Bye.